Fortnite Season 4 is finally here, and it's absolutely insane. Aside from the trailer being absolute cinema, this season is packed with tiny details. Let's kick things off with the new Mega City Zone, which could either be the spawn island or a look at how Fortnite characters actually live inside the game world. That would also explain how collabs get added, since they'd basically get plugged in every time a cartridge connects to the game. You probably already get this if you watched Wreck-It Ralph, and if you didn't, no big deal. Because what really matters here is when they slot in the override cartridge, the same one that spawned during Finale event, since that's the exact point where things start getting weird inside the game, like this downpour of Tetris blocks. And by the way, these cartridges are going to matter a ton in gameplay too, because they're tied to a hacking system I'll get into further along. Right here, Jonesy also stumbles onto the 1-Up coin, which I'm betting will be a playable item that boosts your health and maybe even your speed and strength. Think of it as a modern spin on the old medallions, and I'm pretty confident about that thanks to the end of the trailer, where Geno grabs one and his health shoots up. That's exactly why Jonesy dives head first for it, but a Tetris block ends up knocking him toward the island, and we watch the characters leap out, which gives me the feeling this might be the new battle bus in a way. Or more like whatever ends up replacing the bus entirely, since like I said, this whole area could be the spawn island where we hang before a match, meaning we drop straight from this spot. Still just a theory though, because it might only exist for the cinematic and have nothing to do with actual gameplay. Circling back to these scenes, there's a lot to unpack on the skin front, because we're getting our first look at the ones native to Fortnite, most likely the Battle Pass lineup. There's the customizable skin, which I'm guessing is the Tetris one, though it doesn't really scream Tetris to me. And if that's not it, then it's basically channeling those classic party game vibes, or maybe even a nod to Minecraft skins. Running through the rest of the past characters, you'll notice every single one represents a super popular video game genre. It starts with Fortnite's take on Link, your typical fantasy adventure hero straight out of something like Zelda. Then there's another adventurer type, this one more of a Lara Croft situation, the girl decked out in green and black. For the shooter genre, we've got the guy Call of Duty or something. Playing the fighting game role, we've got the girl in the red. And repping racing, we've got that guy who, just like Fortnite's Link, is basically the Super Mario Kart of the roster. On top of the past skins, we're getting collabs like Crash, who really does have a kinda goofy face just like the leaked design showed. Spyro sits right next to him, and will probably drop as a sidekick in the shop. The final collab is hidden, and it's the cyberpunk protagonist you can spot on one of the cartridge screens. Without technically being a skin, there's also the Bush sprite, now sporting a blocky cube look that all the second generation ones share. Personally, I'm way less into these than the first gen, and this is just one of many that pop up, so I'll throw up the full list of every sprite shown a little later. Once they reveal the island, we spot Sonic, who's actually a robot. Luckily, this version is still making it into the Battle Pass. He's the only collab confirmed for it so far, aside from that possible Tetris one that, like I keep saying, might not even count. Sonic has another key detail in the trailer, and it's his shoes, since they'll work with any skin. His Fortnite footwear is different from what he's rocking here, so these sneakers can probably be unlocked in the past too. On top of that, we see the Sonic-style running ability, which might even turn us into a blue ball, just like the Hedgehog. I think that's an item, because a lot of people might assume it's the power the sprite grants, but Sonic isn't carrying it in his backpack, so the sprite could give us speed too, just way more nerfed than the blue ball. We also get a look at how the rings work, where you race through them to build speed and grab the actual rings, though nobody's cracked what those are for yet. The last skins in the scene are Shadow and Eggman, and they honestly look incredible. On the island, you can catch clouds shaped like flames, or Pac-Man ghosts. There are also these blue and purple cubes that might hand us some ability, or just be glitches, and we probably won't know until we're in the game. In the following scene, we see Joker using the Tails sprite, and its ability comes through crystal clear, which is flying. That same shot also confirms the gun he's reloading. By the way, while editing, I just noticed Jonesy transforms into the blue hedgehog when he's got the shoes on, so this isn't a cosmetic, it's the actual object, which like I said is separate from the Sonic sprite. When it comes to the island, they hand us the best possible view, since you can make out every new zone and even which ones they're replacing, Starting with the biggest and most interesting, the Sonic area, dropped right where Canyon used to be. Then, where we had that creepy avenue owned by Dark Voyager, now we're getting this shadowy spot with a biome of red trees and grass. That one's almost a lock to be Geno's zone, seeing as he's the leader of the character I just brought up. As for the 0 point, we now see it locked inside a device that's probably also Geno's, and tied to his location. Actually, looking at the guy's outfit, I've got a strong hunch he's going to hook himself up to it to drain the 0 point energy and turn himself into the 0 point. We'll most likely see that in the finale event, or at least watch him take a swing at it during the season storyline. Without jumping too far ahead, we've also got to talk about his location in more detail, since it's shaped like a computer, both from the color and those fans. And I'm telling you, this probably ties into the story, but just like the Jonesy intro, I'm saving it for the end of this gameplay breakdown we're watching. Sticking with the zones, we spot this new Pac-Man themed area taking over the soccer field. And finally, the finale event location, where the collider got completely torn down. We also see these cartridges I mentioned earlier getting plugged in, which in gameplay dish out anomalies, and in theory players place them by typing in codes. That's exactly why the season's keyword is hackers. I'll dig into these codes in the season recap once things kick off, since right now they don't really do anything for us without being able to play with them and punch them in. What I can tease is what each one seems to do based on leaks and just plain logic. Starting with the Sonic one, which gives us this unlimited mind plus a speed boost, probably really close to the character's own sprite. Then there's the Crash cartridge, making spike hits lethal in a single blow, which the trailer shows off perfectly. And the last one visible in the trailer is the Cyberpunk one, doing something involving ammo boxes. Beyond those three, we'll get a ton more cartridges tied to the Battle Pass skins, which is why each one carries its own video game theme, plus others for the collabs like Sonic or Cyberpunk. And I almost skipped the coin one, which honestly I don't fully get, but it might grant a medallion to every player or something along those lines. Continuing with the gameplay, we see what's probably the Fighter Skins emote, rocking that same pixelated retro game style, and right after that the power of the Crash cartridge I brought up before. And then Jonesy pulls out the Mega Man cannon, which the skin itself carries. On top of that beefy cannon, we see the 2 dashes we can trigger to build speed by dropping to the ground. There's also the Tetris object that works as a barrier, but when the pieces complete lines, they clear out, just like in the actual game. On top of that, it hands health to whoever used it, or whoever's closest. In the following scene with the Fortnite Lara Croft, we see the Kill Switch backpack, a skin from last year that had the same power as its sprite, which is slowing down time when you jump and shoot. We also catch her packing 2 guns, one in each hand, both collabs with Cyberpunk that fire rifle rounds. Moving along, we've got another pass skin, the Soldier, using the player shotgun, and landing hits makes points and a combo counter of downed rivals pop up. Since this weapon loads game cartridges, it could have different functions depending on which game we plug in, though that's a theory, because in the trailer, he only uses this orange one that references Dark Voyager. Another super hidden detail in the scene is that this PC-shaped Genozone also has the Eggman logo on it, since these 2 villains team up, something confirmed in the Sonic comics. If you want full breakdown of this one, drop a comment. Hanging around this location, Mortal Kombat characters show up who might get a fresh wave. Plus we've got the Rabbit sprite that references an old Epic Games title, Jazz Jackrabbit. As we see later, this one comes with a double jump ability. Last in the gameplay, we watch them load the 1-up cartridge to cut back to the story scene, where Jonesy falls, holds the medallion, and gets surrounded by the season's villains. It starts with the deer from the Roblox game 99 Nights in the Forest, which could even be the first skin dropping for the Fortnite mares, though there's still plenty of runway before we get into that. In this same shot, we see it's joined by a new version of Hush, along with other soldiers that are actually old skins from the ballistic mode. Eggman's right there beside them, and I'm obsessed with how he looks in Fortnite. Working around the circle, we've got this robot, which I think is a new skin, but I've got no clue if it's a collab or a Fortnite original, or even an older one, since we only see it from behind, and no character with that silhouette rings a bell for me. And finally, the main big bad Geno appears, who thankfully looks like he'll be in the battle pass and comes rocking this incredible outfit. Now we watch him steal the coin, boost his health, and take out Jonesy again. Or does he? Since it looks like the entire thing was a dream. Now let's wrap up by explaining what's actually going down here, why we've got this video game season, and why the game morphed in such a bizarre way. The explanation might honestly be pretty simple, since the 0 point plays with reality, and now Geno has snatched it. Like they say in the finale event, he took off with the 0 point. So the way I see it, he now controls the game to a degree and has flipped the loop and the whole Fortnite experience into a literal video game. That's why Jonesy can now see and roam the zones that exist before you drop into a match on the island. And that's where all the Fortnite characters and collabs coexist. The strange part hits at the end, since Jonesy wakes up, and it turns out it was all just a nightmare, which cranks up the complexity of the whole thing big time. After the live event, the island is already pretty shaken up, but we've still got a few days until the new season when everything could flip. So, I'll leave you with this story breakdown so you're fully ready when the new lore kicks in. After the Shattered live event, which wrapped up Season 2, Fortnite basically split into a clear before and after. The 0 point came back to life, and with it, the island's worst nightmare returned too. Where did the Foundation go? Is it true Jonesy isn't coming back? And when does Chapter 8 start? Turns out, this whole time it was Geno hiding under the mask of the Visitor from the OG reality. And despite that epic throwdown between the Foundation and the Ice King, the one who walked away the real winner was, big surprise, the Dark Voyager. There were a ton of hints that Cubehead was gonna stab his icy buddy in the back. I broke a bunch of them down in past videos, so I don't know about you. But for me, the betrayal itself wasn't shocking at all. How the Voyager did the Ice King dirty, though, that's a whole different story. The Ice King's situation is crystal clear. Sucks to say it, but you can stop counting on him coming back. As for the Foundation, his fate is still a mystery. After taking another beatdown from the King, and losing his helmet for the second time, the Rock dropped off the radar. But we can say for sure he's not dead. The post-event thumbnail showing his helmet hints at it. And so do the files data miners dug up, because at some point a Foundation NPC is going to show up on the island. Plus, one of the challenges has us hunting for his busted helmet. So no need to sweat it over the big guy. Jonesy, though, is in way rougher shape. While the Foundation and the Loopers were dealing with the 0 point, Jonesy and the Visitor were coordinating our moves from HQ. Except Blondie had no idea that his old boss was the one hiding under that Visitor mask the whole time. And by the looks of it, Geno's been holding a serious grudge, so he sent Jonesy on a forced little vacation. The island flip, the blown-up collider, his daughter's death, all those long years wandering the galaxy, Geno clearly hasn't forgotten any of it. You can tell because he knows Jonesy's name and his exact job. So now our legend is rotting away in a recovery pod with a hole in his gut, while Visitor Geno is masterfully running his best friends like puppets. We'll dig into that story separately, but for now drop a get well soon Jonesy in the comments. That revenge isn't gonna take itself. So what's the deal with the 0 point? And why did the island get so wrecked? Here's the thing. Just like I called it, the Voyager used his harvester like a giant power bank to revive the 0 point. But firing it up triggered a wave of anomalies all over the island. The Voyager actually managed to overload the 0 point, which is what blended the island with other dimensions. But his plan hit a snag too. Cubehead never got to finish the experiment because we chopped his battery in half, just in time. And the thing that helped us pull it off was the Singularity, who somehow managed to deliver the Infinity Blade and her message to us through the 0 point. Pure magic. No other way to explain it. Right now, the epicenter is stuck in a kind of limbo. On one hand, it's fully assembled and even showing signs of life. On the other hand, it's super unstable, and according to Hope, it could blow at any second and rip open a fresh black hole, So where does that leave us? A dead king, a missing foundation, a barely alive Jonesy, and a massive bomb in the shape of the 0 point. And behind all that chaos stands Geno. The crazy part is how the former leader of the Imagined Order played everyone so perfectly. And the big question is what he's planning next. If anybody still hasn't caught on, nobody except us and Jonesy knows that Geno is the one behind the visitor mask, which means our friends have all become his hostages without even realizing it. If you walk up to Geno as Jonesy, he drops this creepy line about how it feels to rot in that pod while he plays puppet master with your innocent little lambs. But here's the wild part. Talk to him in any other skin and Geno acts all torn up that he couldn't protect the legend. Basically, in the snakiest, rattiest dude on the island contest, this guy is running away with the trophy. So now the whole girl squad is at Geno's beck and call, doing whatever he says. For example, he's got Dr. Sloan working on a device that's supposed to stabilize the epicenter. The build, by the way, is going up on a mountain near the 0 point, and that wonder weapon might just be where the season finale event goes down. Throw your guesses for what Sloan's actually putting together in the comments. The one having the hardest time in this crew right now is Hope. She was the most attached to Jonesy out of all of them, and now our girl is throwing everything she's got into getting her power of foresight back and figuring out who's really behind the hit on the legend.
I'm having trouble with my visions. Can you help me investigate? Someone is listening to us. That's not good.
But between investigations, Hope is obviously daydreaming about her boyfriend Kendo, because if you talk to her in the Kendo skin, she lets out this sad little sigh and says it'd be really nice if Kendo were around right now. So shippers, you can breathe easy. The romance between those two clearly isn't over yet. And after the latest update, Peely joined Hope's corner too, totally heartbroken over his best friend. Honestly, that whole spot with Jonesy's pod has turned into a full-on memorial for the legend, with loopers from every corner of the island bringing flowers and balloons, and Peely and Fishstick even drew get well cards. The whole island is waiting for Jonesy to wake up and refusing to give up hope. What Geno's gonna do when that happens is the open question, since the legend knows exactly who he is. But pulling the strings on the girls and building his contraption is only part of Geno's bigger plan. His main target this season is the 0 point itself. The thing is, Sloan's device alone can't restore it. Geno needs one more key ingredient, and that ingredient, as you probably already guessed, is those sprites we've been chasing all over the island, and he's not collecting them for some personal collection. Geno has very specific plans for these little guys, and the kicker is, he basically handed those plans straight to Dr. Sloan. Walk up to Sloan and strike up a conversation, and she'll lay out Geno's whole scheme without even realizing it.
Looper, you're on comms with the 0 point stabilization team. You'll be our eyes and hands out in the field.
Tread carefully. All of reality ends if we fail.
Ah yes, that old chestnut. Too bad that it's true every time.
According to her, the sprites are basically the 0 point children's, and they didn't just appear for no reason. They showed up the moment the 0 point started spewing out its energy uncontrollably after the event. To stabilize it, this entire daycare has to be rounded up, meaning every sprite on the island gets caught and sent back home, straight into the 0 point. So every time you evacuate a sprite, you're personally handing the epicenter back a piece of its power. Which means, whether we like it or not, we're the ones helping Geno pull off his plan. But our farming alone isn't enough to fully restore the 0 point. Just dumping sprites back into is like filling the tank of a car with no engine. And that's exactly what the wonder weapon Geno and Sloan are building on the hill is for. The way Sloan designed it, the thing works like a stabilizer that'll finally snap the 0 point back to its original form. Sounds like the perfect plan to save the world, right? Except there's one catch, and that catch is Geno himself, because he is definitely not restoring the 0 point out of love for our island. The most obvious theory is that he wants to bring back the Order and take the 0 point under his personal control again. And a stable epicenter in his hands is basically the master key to every reality at once. But don't go packing your bags and bailing on the island just yet. Even with all that, we've still got a shot, because the new 7 are showing up real soon. Right now, almost every character on the island keeps saying the 7 aren't really the 7 anymore, and they're 100% right. After the Foundation went missing and the Visitor's identity got blown, Order is the only one left from the original lineup. and she's fully aware of how bad it's gotten, because she straight up says she feels like she's all alone in the universe. The good news is, Epic dropped a few fat hints that the 7 are about to get a fresh roster. The new 7 sprite is apparently already officially on the team. The description from the new 7 set says it in plain text. On top of that, I'm 100% sure that the second Jonesy finally wakes up, he's gonna lead the rebuilt squad. And most importantly, he'll finally claim the title of legend for real. That's when a completely different game begins. By my read, the new team is gonna include Sloan, Hope, and the Singularity. All the right candidates are already on hand. Plus, the latest update gave Sloan a style with a 7 helmet, so even if it's probably just temporary, she'll be joining the squad. And from there, maybe they'll dig up the missing foundation somewhere too. Assuming he even agrees to rejoin after all his bonehead screw-ups. And then the 7 would have just 1 spot left for a full roster. Who's gonna fill it? $1 million question. But something tells me Epic's got an interesting surprise cooked up for that one too. And they're the 7, Geno's biggest threat. For a while, the big bad manages to keep them away from his plans. Until one day, Jones, who at the time was working for the Imagined Order, decides to betray his crew and call in the Foundation, the leader of the 7.
I know you have no reason to trust me, but... Oh no. Hang on! Let's talk! Let's talk! Geno! I can get you to Geno.
This new alliance kicks off the war between the 7 and the Imagined Order, and it brings out some essential characters for understanding Geno, like Sloan, the group's top scientist, who also gives us our very first glimpse of what Geno looks like. On the flip side, we also meet the Order and the Imagined, who are Geno's daughters, and who his organization is literally named after. They were genetically engineered to be perfect from birth, but that didn't pan out the way he wanted. And over time, the 2 sisters end up joining the 7 to stop their own dad. We see this play out in the Marvel comics, which wrap up on a page that reveals Geno has already regenerated. And here's a big detail. Dr. Doom works for Geno in those comics. I'm pointing that out because, more than likely, the vast majority of villains we've seen in Fortnite have worked or are still working in the shadows for him. After the Season 3 final live event with this new island created, Geno is forced to run his plan B, use this new world to create the Oathbound, led by a loop copy of himself and Stellan, 2 essential characters who've carried us all the way here. Same perfectionist vision, but seen through the lens of a man with honor, represented by a medieval character who only uses battle to protect the world he wants to defend. This alternate origin also explains how Geno's personality evolved, because the man who now does literally anything for control and the pursuit of perfection started out only wanting to make the world a better place. But over time, he came to believe that'd be impossible unless he's the one shaping it. As for Stellan, we've got a guy working for the Oathbound who got orders from the Ageless to build a rift portal. He builds it because a shapeless man is whispering to him in his dreams, telling him he has to do it or there'll be terrible consequences. So he even asks us players to help him put the portal together. But somebody mysteriously sabotaged it, creating a red rift up in the sky. And this is where my theory kicks in, because that's the exact rift the shapeless man always wanted to create, who, surprise surprise, is Geno. Here's the thing. We already saw that same rift back in the last reality event, except that time it was the Cube Queen who generated it. This is where we've got to rewind to the moment Geno disappears, because after regenerating again, he most likely joined the last reality. Or maybe he's even running it now that the Queen has fallen. And there's the whole thing about those red rifts being the same ones we see years later in Fortnite OG, the ones that spawn the corrupted cube and bring the visitor's ship to the Chapter 7 island. It also makes it crystal clear that the Dark Voyager and all his golden cubes are just Geno's lackeys. To me, everything is under his control, and the story they tell us in Chapter 4 makes a whole lot more sense once you factor that in. Going in order, first we head to the main reality, starting with Chapter 5. Since 0 Point didn't actually disappear, it exploded during the Big Bang, and now its fragments are scattered across the different realities. That's when Geno tells his copy to explore the realities and track down the fragments, which is where his new version comes from. But the copy finds something even better, a reality almost identical to the game's original first island, which means Geno can pick his impersonate The Visitor mission right back up. In this universe, he also meets the Voyager from Season 3, who'd later become the Dark Voyager. The question here is whether Geno gives him the cube powers, or whether this character was already part of the last reality. But I'm leaning toward the first theory, since that also explains why Lynx is still working with Geno and now rolls with the Voyager. While Geno is off running his adventure on the OG island, basically rerunning the events of Chapter 1, the first fragment shows up in Reality 783 and falls into the hands of the Dark Presence.
If he wants a fight, he's got one.
Yes! Now we're talking! Time to take back our island.
After the big battle against that monster, it ends up on the Chapter 7 island. In no time, the Voyager takes control of the first 0-point shard, while the Seven try to get the band back together to stop him. And that's when Jones and the Order make a mistake. They put out a call to the entire team, because this is the precise moment when Geno's plan finally goes off without a hitch. He shows up from his rocket in Reality OG, and joins the team to take it down from the inside, all while making the Seven believe he's helping them fight the Voyager.